serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Monday, the 8th day of July 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on vacation, we trust that you're enjoying your vacation. Those of you who may be traveling with family members, especially children, overseas for vacation as well, we urge you to be extremely careful. Remember, other jurisdictions are not necessarily like the Cayman Islands, so you always want to be extra cautious with your personal belongings as well as ensuring the safety of the young ones. Always keep them in your sight. Know where they're going. Know what they're doing. As far as your personal belongings are concerned, be extra careful as well. Where we can hold your handbags and stuff on your shoulders and be fairly carefree here in the Cayman Islands, you can't do the same thing overseas. And everyone wants to try to be as safe as possible, so we urge you to do so. For those of you who are operating on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, bicyclist, operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads, we ask you to be extremely careful as well. Always remember that the life you save may be your own. For those of you who are celebrating birthdays today, we want to wish you a happy birthday as well. If you have a special name that you want us to acknowledge over the radio this morning on For the Record, please provide that to us either by email, WhatsApp, or whatever, and you will get all of those numbers soon in terms of how to communicate with us as well. For those of you who have lost loved ones, we extend our sincerest condolences to you and hope and trust that your faith, your strong faith, will take you through these very challenging times as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls, 9 times out of 10, including this morning. It is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, then email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. And again, I want to remind those of you who do not have the luxury of listening continuously to the show from 7:30 until 10 o'clock that you can go back to YouTube and follow replay the whole show there. You can also find us on government TV as well. So we try to ensure that you don't miss out on anything when it comes to Radio Cayman. There are many ways of accessing us after the live show has ended as well. We have no guests in the studio yet. I think maybe at 8 o'clock we should have some guests in the studio. I won't announce who they will be yet, don't want to disappoint anyone in the event the guests are unable to make it. We do realize that it is summer holidays, and during this time of the year, many people are traveling with family members, especially the children who are out of school and taking well-deserved vacations as well. So. And we do recognize that many civil servants will be off also. Speaking of school and vacations, we just had several graduations as well. And I think there may have been something in the Tradewinds newspapers about closing exercises at the Cayman High School. That would have been July the 7th, the publication of the Tradewinds newspaper, July the 7th, 1966. Closing exercises at Cayman High School. The closing exercises of the Cayman Islands Cayman High Secondary Grammar School were held on the night of June the 30th at the Town Hall in Georgetown. Of course, our Town Hall is now renamed Constitution Hall as well, so we want to recognize that new name, Constitution Hall. His Honor, the Acting Administrator, Mr. Desmond V. Watler, presided over the ceremonies. The program of entertainment was presented by the students, which featured musical presentations, choir singing, and 2 short plays. The Reverend John R. Gray, principal of the Cayman Islands High School, gave a detailed report covering the school's activities and internal affairs of the past year. Students who have taken the General Certificate of Education examination and are awaiting the results were awarded their leaving certificates. Those days, I don't know, we were given what was called a leaving certificate, and then, of course, you would know how many subjects you passed after you take the GCE examinations as well. That is General Certificate of Education examinations as well. So says they were giving those who were awaiting results were awarded their leaving certificates. These students were as follows: Miss Janet Tibbetts, Miss Carol Ann Banks. I have to go on to page 2 to find the others as well. Miss Caroline Banks. I got to keep talking while I'm looking for page 2 on here. For some reason, page 2 may be missing, but what we will do in the meantime, we will take a commercial break, and when I return, I will give you the names of the other graduating students from Cayman Islands High School in 1966. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Reginald Bernie Bernard. Mr. Bernard was the only baker in Cayman. He baked bread and rolls for ships calling at the Georgetown Harbor and for local residents and hotels. He was also a farmer who raised cattle and pigs. He and his wife, Rosamond Inez Ebanks Bernard, had 2 sons and 1 daughter. Mr. Bernard served as a vestryman and was a member of Elmsey Church. He was well known to all in Grand Cayman, and people came to him frequently for advice on various subjects. Throughout his life, he never allowed himself to be photographed.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Did you know the third most important factor for customer retention is cleanliness? With 95% of shoppers saying exterior appearance influences where they decide to shop. Keep your business clean with Roper's Janitorial. From offices to restaurants, interior and exterior, walls to rugs and flooring, Roper's cleans it all, including 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Dress your business for success with Roper's Janitorial. We make your business shine. 949-2511.
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. A strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Wow, it seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vantman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vamp Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vamp, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walker's Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory-breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good. System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before we went to the break, I was sharing with you the article from the Tradewinds newspaper, 7th of July, 1966, closing exercise at Cayman High. And the article spoke about those students who were awaiting the results of their GCE examinations. Meanwhile, they were handed their leaving certificates at a ceremony at the town hall, presided over by the acting administrator, Mr. Desmond Watler, and I was giving you the names of those persons who received their leaving certificates in 1966. So we had Janet Tibbetts, Miss Carol Ann Banks, Miss Andrea Farrington, Miss Olsey Ross, Miss Elsie Arch, Miss Rita Turner, Miss Robin Hatch, Miss Berna Thompson, Miss Marjorie Hurlston, and Miss Judy Hill. Then we also had Messrs. The late Carl Farrell, Mr. Heber Arch, Mr. Richard Bush, Mr. Alexander Gray, Mr. Charles Winton, and Mr. Steve Tomlinson. And we have heard some very prominent names being called there. Many people went on to have distinguished careers. Some and all were achievers in their own respects, and want to give kudos to those persons, those who know, those who are still around, who are still here in the Cayman Islands as well. What else happened in 1966? And again, I want to give credit and recognition to Miss Joellen Thompson for sharing these copies of these Tradewinds newspapers with me. And sometimes when you hear me hesitate or when I'm searching for something, it is because I have them stored electronically and I have to scroll through to find them. Sometimes the print may not be all that clear as well, and as a result, you may hear some hesitation on my part. But again, it is so good to have this material, and I know that so many more persons have copies of the various newspapers. I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was saying that his mother and his late father, who worked for the Compass newspaper, has so many copies as well. His mother has them, and she wanted to share them with me as well, and I'm certainly looking forward to that. Also, what else did we have in 1966? We had a new chief of police who arrived, or was due to arrive, and it was announced by Mr. D.V. Watler, the acting administrator, that the new chief of police for the Cayman Islands has arrived with his wife and children. He is Mr. R.S. Le Monsieur Besant. Mr. Besant will assume the duties of chief of police officially within the next few weeks upon the departure of the current chief, Mr. G.S.H. Ellis. Chief Ellis has completed his contractual assignment here and is leaving shortly for his home in England. He plans to remain in England for a brief visit and would be moving on to somewhere else. Those were the days when chief of police they were not as controversial as in our most recent past, where we had those involved with helicopters, those involved with trying to remember the name of that scandal that we have. That'll soon come back to me. Tempura, yes, Operation Tempura. And not as controversial in those days as we had them today. I don't know why. Maybe those days police commissioners, chief of police is stuck with the work of policing and nothing else, whereas we find more and more of these positions now becoming so political as well, including that of the Auditor General. We saw a very political one of those in the Cayman Islands as well. They need to leave the politics to the politicians and to the Caymanian politicians at that as well. I believe we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm very thankful.
Had a good weekend?
A wonderful weekend, yeah.
Good.
Well, I was reading an article. Don't remember exactly where now, but it fired me up very big on Friday when I read it, regarding the Cayman Turtle Farm. I had the program where they have, where they put a certain amount of green sea turtles back in the wildlife.
Yeah, release, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The release. Now, we keep on hearing rubbish from all over the place that, oh, well, these are becoming extinct and, all this kind of stuff like that. So the reality is that they are now putting them back in wildlife to try to help increase the population in the wildlife. Now, and I read where the Department of Environment said that they need a specialist, someone, they're hiring somebody to come and do a study as to whether or not I guess for lack of a better word, I don't remember the entire article, but they're hiring somebody to do a study, somebody do a study to see whether this is okay to release them in wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
See, I have never heard something so ridiculous in my life. I mean, this we're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars again on some consultative person to come in here to tell us that green sea turtles that born in salt water. Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. They're born in the sand, just like they're born in the sand on the islands. Because turtles don't lay eggs in water. They come on shore and lay eggs.
Right.
And then they are transferred to saltwater ponds at the turtle farm with absolute great care from the persons there to take care of them. Super care. And we're going to pay a consultant to come in here and tell us that it's okay to release them back into the wild? Man, let me tell you something, Osi, if we, in our daily walks of life, had to pay for consultants to tell us how to do stuff, out of our pockets, we wouldn't be doing it. But because it is the taxpayer dollar that's going to take care of that, we're going to do it every day, all day, until somebody clamps down and says, listen here, look, we ain't paying for this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We ain't paying for this rubbish. Jesus Savior, OC, you want to pay a consultant to see if green sea turtles that is raised up in salt water, released back in salt water, is okay by the turtle farm. Well, you need to start doing the study now too, see, all different nationalities come to Cayman amongst us. Then
releasing them.
Okay. Let's see if they're okay for release back to us then too.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm trusting that it is the intention is not to bring someone here who is planning or who wants to do a doctorate or something like that and is going to use that research as part as their doctoral dissertation. Or it is not somebody washing the other person's hands to a certain extent. And when I say that, what I mean is that I recall when I was in the immigration department and was taken over, the gentleman who was there filling in, and while I was doing my work, preparing myself to become chief immigration officer, one of his remarks to me was in the context of, well, once you get this job, you can always bring me back down as a consultant, one person looking out for the other. We don't do it a whole lot here in the Cayman Islands, but it is done throughout the world, and that expectation. So we hope it is neither of those. But I follow your argument. Why the need for it? There are so many other ways that we could spend that money in terms of the people in the Cayman Islands who are suffering and need assistance.
Well, see, quite right. So, if they need to hire a consultant to tell them that it's okay to put green sea turtles that were born in sand in an artificial sand base, not artificial because the turtle farm goes out and procures local sand. They don't bring it in. They procure local sand. They put the eggs in it. Then they hatch, and then they also have a program going, which I thought was actually brilliant. They get a surplus of eggs at the farm, and they go and set up these nests on the beach. That the turtle would be a natural thing for them to crawl back into the water. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant what they do. If they need somebody to tell them that it's okay to release these turtles, then I'm up for grabs, man. Come on, give me some of the money that you're going to destroy, and I'll be more than happy to tell you it's okay to put it back in the water. Because it don't take no scientist to say that one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One more quick article from the Trade Winds newspaper. I don't want to leave the BRAC out in all of this as well. And in that same issue, the July 7th, 1966, the last group of third year Jamaica local students stand in front of the Cayman BRAC Jamaica Local Center. Those of you remember that? We had a Jamaica Local Center. We had one here in Grand Cayman as well. That was located almost where the entrance is to Georgetown Primary School. Now, a little further to the southwest of that was where the Jamaica Local Center was located. In this case, this one in the BRAC. And it says, along with their teacher for the past 3 years, Mr. Ralston Walters, he was the teacher. In the picture, we had George Ryan, Audrey Foster, Steve Porter, Ralston Walters, who's the teacher, Eloise Parchment, David Ryan, Anna Dilbert, and Avalinda Ebanks in the BRAC as well. With that, we've reached the top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
And studio time by Price Right is 8 o'clock.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access. Information. community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. The Customs and Border Control Service, with the help of its detection dogs, has seized more than $400,000 to date since operations were deployed. Radio Cayman's Shivani Ebanks has more.
The Customs and Border Control says some of the seizures were as a result of proactive and operational activities by CBC officers, while others were conducted jointly with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. The detection dogs were obtained from the United Kingdom and deployed in February 2018. The first cash detection occurred a few days after canines were deployed last year, when the sniffer dogs alerted authorities to 2 passengers departing from the Owen Roberts International Airport. A subsequent search recovered a large sum of cash. In August 2018, a detection dog alerted its handler on 2 passengers departing the Owen Roberts International Airport. When a woman was stopped and asked by CBC officers if she had any cash in her baggage or on her, she told them she didn't. But a search revealed more than $10,000 strapped to her body, hidden under her garments to avoid detection. The woman was arrested on suspicion of handling criminal property. During a joint RCIPS and CBC drug operation in June 2018, more than $250,000 was seized with the aid of canines during the house search. Last month, CBC officers seized a significant amount of cash when a canine aided in the detection of $135,000 under the floor panel of a private aircraft. Deputy Director Jeff Jackson says more canines will be arriving soon and will be trained specifically to detect explosive and other contraband, including terrorist implements. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Giovanni Ebanks.
During the last 2 weeks of June, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service Air Operations Unit conducted a total of 6 medical evacuations to Grand Cayman from the sister islands using a new police helicopter. These included 2 on June 17th and 4 the following week, the 24th through the 30th of June. On June 17th, the helicopter transferred a heart patient from Cayman Brac to Health City. Later that same evening, a woman in premature labor was transported from Faith Hospital to Grand Cayman and then to the hospital by ambulance after it was determined that the child would be in need of critical care once born. The following week, medical evacuations were conducted on Monday, June 24th, the 25th, the 27th, and again on the 29th. One of those evacuations was from Little Cayman, while the others were from Cayman Brac. 2 occurred following diving-related incidents, and another followed a motor vehicle collision, while the 4th was of a critically ill patient who had lost consciousness. Police say all of the medical evacuations were completed safely due to the efforts of their AOU crew members and the emergency medical services staff working together with them. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with David Austin. The Congolese warlord Bosco Ntaganda has been found guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The International Criminal Court ruled that he was guilty of all 18 charges against him, including rape, murder, sexual slavery and recruiting child soldiers. Amnesty International has described the violent crackdown on drugs in the Philippines as a large-scale murdering enterprise and has called for a UN investigation. Amnesty warned that a program of killings started by President Rodrigo Duterte 3 years ago had continued unabated with thousands of deaths. The leader of the centre-right New Democracy Party in Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, has been sworn in as Prime Minister after a resounding victory in a snap general election on Sunday. He says he wants to lower taxes and renegotiate a deal with Greece's creditors. Russia has condemned a tirade of expletives used against President Putin by a Georgian television presenter in a live broadcast. The Foreign Ministry in Moscow described it as an unacceptable provocation by radical forces designed to undermine relations between the two nations. A high-profile British government minister has called for the deadly outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo to be declared a global health emergency. More than 1,500 people have died in the east of the DRC since the outbreak began nearly a year ago. Iran has warned Europe not to retaliate against its decision to raise the level at which it enriches uranium, a step that violates the international nuclear deal. The Iranians are threatening a gradual breach of more limits agreed in the accord. BBC News.
Access to information. what's happening in your community. News and information, music, and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Always ensure that food preparation utensils are washed with a strong detergent and rinsed in hot water in the event that they have made contact with flood water. Boil silverware for 10 minutes and immerse glass, porcelain, china, and plastic items in a solution of hot water and 10% chlorine bleach before use. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Good morning. Time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 82%. Barometric pressure 29.98 inches and rising. Winds are calm. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate light easterly winds and slight seas will continue across the Cayman area due to a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving west. Now the forecast for today and tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and possible thunder. And temperatures will be in the upper 80s today and fall to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be light and variable and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet for today and for tonight 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will occur this morning at 7 minutes past 9, high tide this afternoon at 3:29, and a low tide again tonight at 9:28. The sun will set this evening at 6 minutes after 7 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:54. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Super Stitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Top of the morning to you once again. Let's take a look what's happening on our roads. A little busy traffic on the West Bay Road heading to Georgetown. Not sure what the issue is, but traffic looking busy, but slight delays expected. And traffic coming from Georgetown on the West Bay Road, especially in front of the Ritz, is moving along moderately. Light traffic coming from the West Bay four-way stop. On Owen Roberts Drive, traffic is light to moderate and moderate flow of traffic. On Huldah Avenue, Thomas Russell Way, traffic flowing pretty good. Cool Road, moderate flow of traffic, and traffic is moderate coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Little steady traffic on the Linford-Payson Highway. Slight delays expected as you're heading down to Georgetown. And that's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise. Remember, 10-2 on the steering wheel. Have a good morning.
Summertime
time is when Cayman Airways full of people are travel to Jamaica. If you're late for checking your flight, you will lose your seat. Remember now, check-in time for Cayman Airways flight is 2 hours before departure. Make sure you're not late.
Stay up to date with the latest in healthy living and fitness trends every Saturday morning at 9:30 and Wednesday at 7 p.m. For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Most clinics in the United States, they kind of like one surgery fits all. You're saying, that's not necessary. That's not going to be the case with me. And that's good to hear.
For the Health of It is proudly brought to you by GNC. Join the GNC community and take advantage of their discount days. The first 7 business days of every month and every Wednesday. GNC. Believe in the power of nutrition.
Don't forget, Radio Cayman's Breeze Fusion 5K Walk Run is going to be back in November. Registrations are now open at www.caymanactive.com, or you can stop by Radio Cayman. Race day will be Saturday, November 2nd. Mark it on your calendar. It's going to be bigger and better with the new 10K run for half marathon trainers, as well as the 5K walk run. This year's funds will go to support the Central Scranton Park and also the NCVO. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher. The Breeze Fusion 5K 10K walk run is going to go down Saturday, November 2nd. Don't delay. Register today.
For the Health of It is heard on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. It is brought to you by Holy Cross Hospital. Quality medical care and advanced technology with sincere compassion and understanding. Our mission is you. Call 1-954-351-5906 or visit Holy Cross Hospital at holy-cross.com.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio, so we will continue to have an open line for you to call in, for you to express your views, voice your concerns, ask questions, and if we don't have the answers here, we will try to get them for you, or hopefully someone else is listening to, folks who are listening may be able to contribute to the answers if we don't have them as well. And I want to say a big welcome to those folks who are following us on YouTube as well. I see in the newspapers where it appears as if the verification of signatures for the referendum has begun. I believe the districts of East End and North Side were the first two to be canvassed. And in today's Caymanian Compass, there's an article in relation to the fact that nearly 13% of the port petition names have been verified so far. And my rough calculation, based on the period of time that it took for this 13% to be verified, we're probably looking at maybe about an 8-week period for all verifications to be completed. That is just my guesstimate on it. Maybe longer, it may be less than that. And where we go from there and how quickly we get from that point to the other points that we have to go is another question that, of course, will be raised. Will we see a people-initiated referendum take place this year? Will we? That is the question. Will we see one take place this year? At this rate, it's going to be a tight squeeze, but maybe there are those who know better than I do what will happen. Folks, we have heard many people talk about the Cayman Islands in the past and what we should and shouldn't do when it came to welcoming people to our shores. In the mid-1960s, when the Cayman Islands were really just starting to develop our financial industry or tourism industry, boom in construction and everything, one person who remained unnamed, I think at the end of the day they signed the letter as a concerned Caymanian, wrote to the editor of the Trade Winds newspaper, and the title, the captions on their letter was, "Let us not be pawns in the foreigner's game." And I'm going to read that to you. And this isn't intended to be anti-expatriate, anti-foreigner in any way. It is a call in those days for us to be cautious, to be vigilant. And what applied then certainly still applies today for us here in the Cayman Islands. And the writer says, "Dear sir, please permit me space in your worthy paper to bring some important points to the attention of your readers. The economy and future of the Cayman Islands at this time faces crisis. We are at the crossroads of our destiny, and a concerned populace must wake up and put their shoulders to the wheel, grasp the hands of progress, and walk hand in hand, shoulder high, not as a consort to a monarch, but as equal citizens, good and strong. United in our decisions, we must stand, or divided, we must fall. Our island people have traveled far and near. We are well educated through the school of hard knocks. We have seen the good and the bad of most parts of the world. We are in no way isolationists. We have welcomed foreign capital and foreign skills with open arms and will continue to do so, but we must be treated as equals and not pushed into forgotten roles. Our island has recently been faced with a purported large influx of capital, which everyone readily agrees is needed and welcomed. We ask you philanthropists who are purportedly coming to our aid, not to lure us with your sweet smiles and promises, nor hold this purported wealth as bait on a string in front of our eyes, or even our head as the sword of Damocles. We must be known as individuals who will not take pottage, but demand to be treated with equality. We are not babies in the wool, but honest to goodness businessmen. It is common gossip that a new harbor and docking facility is being planned for the island, and everyone will agree that this has been a long-standing need. It will be more important to our economy that the jet port has been, and once again, the question should be raised. Why cannot this be done with the help of a bond issue supported locally and under the auspices of our government? So the person was saying we can support this venture by having a bond issue, something that we're hearing today as well. Countries of the world much less developed and with shakier economies than ours have undertaken such ventures. The entire world is in continual debt, and we should not be afraid of following the example. We are being played as pawns once again, one against the other, and it is better for our great-grandchildren to be paying off the debt we incur today in putting our island on a true and stated course than bowing to the demands of a select few. So this person had the view that, yes, we're going to incur debt, And they would prefer to see our grandchildren having to pay the debt than being held hostage or being held by a few. Now, some people will disagree with that and say, well, we shouldn't be leaving the debts on future generations, but we also have to bear in mind, and this is my view, we also have to bear in mind that future generations will also be the beneficiaries of what we leave today. So, it's a give and take issue, the way I see it. The writer goes on to say, it is rumored that many strings are attached to this offer, and before such an important decision is taken, every citizen has the full and inalienable right to know what concessions are being granted. Will an impartial port authority be set up? Will each ship, regardless of ownership or registry, have a right to use these facilities? Will the important concessions such as bunkering and ship chandling be granted on a competitive basis? Will pilots be judged on their merits or because Mr. So-and-so wishes him to be a pilot? What rights will be granted and what will be restricted? We demand to know. And it goes on to say, our economy cannot be strangled by dictatorial methods. If we must dance to the tune, we must also play the fiddle. We are in a decision stage, and leaders should be asked to act wisely and not be smiled or lulled into submissive oblivion. Once we make mistakes, there is nowhere for us to run. Yours, etc., a concerned Caymanian. Folks, this was in 1967. Trade winds, the 6th of July, 1967. A writer then speaking about the development of a port facility in the Cayman Islands, and of course there were people with vested interests who wanted to engage in that, who wanted to invest in that as well. And there were legitimate questions that were being raised by this writer in that regard. Those words resonate so much with what we are facing today, the challenges that we are facing, the questions that are being asked. Not sure whether or not that concerned writer at that time got any response, any answers to his questions, and then there may be some in the current situation here who will say that we're not getting answers to our questions that we are posing today as well. Of course, the debate goes on. We will see what happens as far as the people-initiated referendum goes. We will see what the government's response to that will be, whether or not it will be determined that it is a question of national importance that needs to be addressed in the form of a people-initiated referendum. Those are all questions that still have to be sorted out. And when we get there, the referendum question also has to be when the referendum will take place. That's another thing that has to be sorted out as well. But here again, in 1967, an attractive Cayman Islands developing, attractive to investors and the populace. People are saying we need to put our shoulders to the wheel. We need to stand as one. They didn't say it here, but the implication is that if we don't stand together at the end of the day, well, he did say that. The person did say that in the article, that we run the risk of falling if we don't stand together, all suffering the same fate. So again, words that, if we were to take them and juxtapose them to today's situation, same thing, same questions being asked, same concerns being raised as well. What else do I have to share with you? I have so much to share with you. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to talk about the lawless Caymans, and what we refer to then as the lawless Caymans, and a law that was passed in 1863. I'm going even further back. For those of you who don't like us to revisit our history, I'm going even further back, because you heard during the last the 2 days that we had celebrating our Constitution and talking about the constitutional history of the Cayman Islands, you heard us speak about this legislation that was passed in the UK, and I want to share that with you also. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, formerly known as Professional Pharmacy, would like to thank the Cayman communities for their loyal support these past 18 years. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care. Thorough background checks and follow-up consultations is only the beginning. Your safety is our concern. Our staff are respected healthcare professionals whose job requires careful and precise calculations. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, where we prepare to provide exceptional care. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we care about your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
At Logic, we make things better for our customers. It's why we're offering free Boost Wi-Fi. With Boost, you get improved Wi-Fi connectivity everywhere in your home, so there's no more dead zones. The only people we're not making this better for is parents. Because now with seamless Wi-Fi in every room in your home, go to your room isn't really the punishment it used to be. Sorry about that. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio. Open line here on For the Record, our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037, 949-6990. If you don't want to talk on the telephone, email us at fortherecord. That is one word, for the record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261. You can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, and we will play the contents during the course of the show as well. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. I promised you there was a time in the Cayman Islands when the Assembly of Justices and Vestrymen passed laws in the Cayman Islands, and they simply passed them because the Cayman Islands were neglected while we were governed as if we were a part of Jamaica, and we make that distinction as if we were a part of Jamaica. We were governed as if we were a part of Jamaica. That the justices and vestries made laws for the Cayman Islands. So on the 22nd of June, 1863, through an act for the government of the Cayman Islands, the United Kingdom Parliament at that time passed legislation. And it begins by stating, whereas certain magistrates and other inhabitants of the island of Grand Cayman have from time to time, in vestry or otherwise, passed or assumed to pass certain acts or resolutions for the government of the Cayman Islands, and whereas doubts are entertained whether such acts or resolutions are of any effect in the said islands, and by what authority laws may be made for the government of the same, such doubts should be set at rest. So they're going to set the doubts at rest. Be it therefore enacted by the Queen's most excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Lords spiritual and temporal, and Commons, in this present Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. And this one has to do with acts and resolutions of magistrates are to be valid. All acts or resolutions heretofore passed or purporting to have been passed at any meeting of the magistrates or representatives or of the justices and vestry or the vestry of the island of Grand Cayman shall, so soon as fair copy of the same all shall have been signed by the governor of Jamaica in verification thereof, be deemed to have been valid and effectual for all purposes whatever within the said Cayman Islands from the date at which the same shall purport to have been passed. So what the Parliament in the United Kingdom is doing is that they're validating all laws that were passed in the Cayman Islands that may not have had validity at the time of their passing. They are now validating them and making it retroactive as well, right? So that's what's happening. Then in relation to the powers of the legislature of Jamaica to make laws, goes on to say, it shall be competent to the legislature of Jamaica to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of the said islands, and by such laws to alter or repeal all or any of the aforesaid acts or resolutions, and also to give the justices and vestry or other body or bodies of persons in the said island such powers to make laws or regulations for local purposes within the same as to said legislature may see deem fit. So here, my interpretation of this is that they're now also empowering the legislature of Jamaica to give such powers to the justices and vestry of the Cayman Islands to also make laws. And then there is a section on the powers of the justice and vestry to make regulations for purposes herein named, until it shall be otherwise provided by the said legislature, it shall be lawful for the said justices and vestry in their accustomed manner or in such other manner as shall be prescribed in writing under the hand and seal of the governor of Jamaica to make such regulations as to them shall seem fit for the following purposes. That is to say, so not only laws that they were able to make, but also regulations. One regulation respecting their own constitution and procedures, respecting the powers and duties of public officers, and especially respecting the powers, functions, and procedures of justices of the peace and officers acting under their authority, and respecting appeals from the decision of such justices to the Supreme Court of Jamaica, respecting the establishment, maintenance, discipline, and powers of the police, respecting management, occupation, and disposal of public property and common land, respecting the abatement of nuisances, the construction of works of public utility and making of roads, the cleaning of streets and houses, and other matters affecting the health or convenience of the community, respecting the custody of offenders and accused persons, respecting the imposition of and collection of rates and taxes, and respecting the custody and expenditure of proceeds thereof. Provided always that the justices of the peace shall, by virtue of any such regulations, try any suit or action without the consent of the parties thereto, in which the value of the matter in dispute shall exceed £100, nor take cognizance of any capital crime, nor sentence any offender to the payment of a fine of more than £50 or the imprisonment of a longer term than 12 months. So they were restricted in terms of cases, how they could try in terms of the amounts being claimed, the length of time that a person could be sentenced. There were restrictions on how far the justices and vestry could go in that regard as well. I believe we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, Lucy. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you, sir?
Good, man. I just wanted to talk about, we had a meeting down in the West. We had a John Cumber Hall Thursday night. And the Commissioner of Police was there, and some of the other police officers, you know. And it was all about traffic and things that the police, people of West Bay had made many complaints about things that were happening in West Bay. And so they decided, I think this meeting could be like, have these meetings at different districts, so it wasn't just West Bay. But anyway,
this was the one with the Commissioner of Police was there, or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, there was two things I want to mention. One was a case where Mr. Mike Adams, some guy down there, somebody that I understand he's from New York or someplace, that owns a house down, and he was threatening the guy and all that. And I mean, if you'd heard that story, I mean, Sandra Catron was there. She was taking pictures or taking, being a reporter. But she mentioned all the things that went on down there, and I don't understand how these things can happen in Cayman, and these foreign nationals can come here because they got a little house or something down there today, and he wants to rule the district, and anyway.
So you were at the meeting, caller?
The meeting. I was at the meeting.
Okay. What did the Commissioner of Police? Because I saw something, some article where the commissioner had met. I don't know if it's separately with one of the persons, I believe, Mr. Mike Adam, in concern with this dispute. Did the Commissioner of Police...
Yeah,
one second. Did the Commissioner of Police explain the powers and the jurisdiction that his officers have in terms of when there is a criminal situation as opposed to a civil situation?
Well, he said that they didn't have. I think if I understood correctly, that there were some things that were happening right now that they'd rather not, have an open discussion. But because there's something that's going on, that they was going to, were looking into it and getting things, organized, settled, whatever. But this thing has been going on for so long, and I tell you that it gets to the point where I said maybe it's a little different today than we were back in the days when I was a kid, and the men back in them days, they wouldn't wait for no police or nothing. They would settle it right then, and they get the message across. But it's a sad thing that even today, in this day and age, that somebody who has come here and they do these, build a little house or something like that, and they well, you've heard it, but if you've been there, you would have heard it. His children pelts rocks and stuff at Mr. Mike's house. I mean, this is ridiculous. The other thing was I want to mention, they were talking about traffic. And I was driving down Westbury Road the other day, and I just want to mention this, that we got, remember when we changed the license plates? They were supposed to have all these license plates were going to be the same. I know we got at least 10 or 12 different types of license plates in Cayman. The ones that were supposed to be done with this new thing that the police could spot a thing on them and get the information, all this kind of stuff. I don't think half of them is on the road yet, because I see half the cars, they turn their license tags in and they run around without tags on the cars. I see they got motorized skateboards on the sidewalk. They got them little two-wheel things there. I counted 20 of them the other day coming down there in front of the Marriott area. And one old couple, they had to step off of the sidewalk because these things were coming down on the sidewalk. And they started to step out on the side of the road it's ridiculous what's happening here. And I don't know who gives permission for all of these motorized skateboards, motorized everything you could think of, but and everybody's using the sidewalk and stuff like this stuff. Where are we going? I mean, it's going to happen sooner or later. Somebody's going to get killed on that road there, especially on Westbury Road, where these little two-wheel things. I counted 20 one day, 20 of these things riding down the road. Now, I don't have anything against anybody having a business that they're trying to make a living, but we have the government has the ability and the responsibility to regulate things so that these dangers are not prevalent.
So, Caller, what's your answer? What's your solution to the situation, the dispute over access right away? What's your solution to it?
Well, the thing is, there's a law in real estate law. They used to call it squatters' rights, or got a different name for it, I think. But anyway, it's if you have been using a road and this road is where they're at there. Apparently, they're a part of that road when they first started it. People were just walking through, and the.
My question is, what would you do about it?
Well, what would I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just apply the law. The law says that if you've been using that road for so many years.
Yeah, the law says that, but and if the person still prevented you from using it, what would you do?
Oh, I don't want to say what I would do, but I'm telling you,
because it seems as if the land registry, based on my cursory reading of things, is that they ruled in favor of Mr. Adam. But what the police is saying now, basically, it is a civil matter, and it is something that has to now go through the courts and be resolved by the courts, not something that they cannot enforce a ruling by the land registry.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Does coverage grow in West Bay?
Pardon me?
Does coverage grow in West Bay? Coverage, you know what that is? Does it grow in West Bay?
I know what it is. I know what it does.
I'm just curious. I'm not sure whether or not the hot weather or something like that was affecting the growth of coverage in West Bay. Call, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We have to go to a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Wow, it seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vantman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vant Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vant, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I want to continue to read from this act for the government of the Cayman Islands that was passed in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom on the 22nd of June, 1863. And the reason that I'm reading this is because there are many people who know about this, scattered things about our history here in the Cayman Islands, the history of governance here in the Cayman Islands. And you hear people referring to the fact that you had men, of steel here in the Cayman Islands in those days, and comparing their actions to some of the actions that are taken by people in power and politicians today. Of course, we're governed slightly. When I say slightly, I use that word loosely. Slightly different than then. In the 1800s, the UK didn't really have an interest in the Cayman Islands. Of course, now there's a huge interest in the Cayman Islands. They say that their interest, the UK says that their interest has to do with the fact that they do have responsibility for administration under the United Nations Charter, Article 73 of the United Nations Charter in that regard. And as a result, there are issues of contingent liability. There are issues in terms of adhering to treaties that have been signed by the UK that we are a party to as well, and ensuring that we play our role in adhering to those treaties as well. So the UK has a completely different interest now than it had then. And as a result of that, having no interest in the Cayman Islands, and the lines of communications not all that great in those days, people in the Cayman Islands, justices and vestrymen made decisions that they felt were important. They made them because they felt that it was expedient to do so, or lifeline, or mere existence depended on the decisions that they made, and they could not wait for such decisions to be made by the governor in Jamaica at those points in time, because they had literally forgotten about the Cayman Islands. So when it did come to the attention of the authorities that these laws, had been made, and I believe there was one instance of this may have been further down in the 60s, when it was also recognized, for instance, that appeals to the Grand Court, which was then in Jamaica, some of those appeals were not allowed simply because the £2 filing fee that was required, or deposit that was required to be placed, was not placed in the Cayman Islands, because the legislation here in the Cayman Islands didn't call for that, but the legislation in Jamaica said that the deposit of £2 had to be made, and we saw some appeals were dismissed as a result of that. I believe, including in those, was the appeal between Mr. Shirley MacPhail and a gentleman from West Bay in the land dispute called the Majals land dispute as well. So there were issues, there were instances when the legislation passed in the Cayman Islands conflicted with the legislation that was in place in Jamaica. Sometimes that conflict was as a result of not knowing what the legislation was in Jamaica, and like I said before, the justices and vestries here in the vestry here in the Cayman Islands doing what they felt was expedient and necessary for our continued survival at that time. So then they gave the justices and vestry powers to make laws and also to make regulations as well. So it goes on to say regulations to be signed before taking effect. And it reads that no regulation made by such justices and vestry or other legislative authority in the said islands, and said islands are the Cayman Islands, shall take effect until the government of Jamaica, until the same shall have been signed by the officer administering the government of Jamaica in token of his assent thereto, and every such regulation may be disallowed by Her Majesty by order in council or through one of her principal secretaries of state, and shall come to be of any effect as soon as the disallowance hereof shall be proclaimed within the said island. So the regulations had to be authorized by the government of Jamaica through the administering officer, who was then the governor of Jamaica. And, of course, it points out that by order in council, Her Majesty could disallow laws for the Cayman Islands as well. Then there's a section on the law of Jamaica to take effect in the Cayman Islands. And it says here that except as they may be inconsistent with the aforesaid acts or resolutions and subject to any such alterations as may be as made by or by authority of the aforesaid legislature of Jamaica, and to such legislation as may from time to time be made under authority of this act, the laws now in force in Jamaica shall from the date of this act be deemed to be in force in the said islands, so far as the same shall be applicable to the circumstances thereof. So, laws in Jamaica applicable to the Cayman Islands, so far as the said shall be applicable in the circumstances thereof. I need a lawyer to interpret that part for me. Then it goes on to talk about the governor of the Cayman Islands, and it says that the officer administering the government of Jamaica shall have, as far as may be, the same powers and authority in respect of the said islands as if the same had been part of the islands of Jamaica. So this is where we end up. This is where we get that terminology that the Cayman Islands were governed as if they were a part of Jamaica. And I will read this again. This is Section 6 of the Act of 1863, passed by the Parliament of the United Kingdom, as it relates to the governor of the Cayman Islands. Section 6 states, the officer administering the government of Jamaica shall have, as far as may be, the same powers and authorities in respect of the said islands as if the same had been part, and the same is talking about the Cayman Islands, so I would insert, as if the Cayman Islands had been part of the island of Jamaica. So this is where this act, this is what brought us under Jamaica to the extent that we were governed as if we were a part of Jamaica. We were governed by the governor of Jamaica, who had authority, vested powers to govern Jamaica, and he was then given additional vested powers to govern the Cayman Islands as if they were a part of Jamaica, just like they were a part of Jamaica. Inserting the word, changing the word as if, and saying, as just as if they were part of Jamaica. With that, we have to take a break again for headline news at 9 o'clock. When we return, we will continue with empowering you, educating you, and enlightening you in the Cayman Islands, some portions that you are not aware of yourselves. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advance notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Kid Fest at Pedro St. James held recently saw over 600 guests attend the Family Fun Day, organized by Team Nolan Evans in memory of their son, Nolan Evans, who passed from a complex congenital heart disease back in January. Organizers said the event raised more than $16,000, which will be donated to the Cayman Heart Fund. A former Congolese rebel leader has been found guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Fighters loyal to Bosco Nyanganga disemboweled babies and smashed their heads in, said judges at the International Criminal Court. In all, the man nicknamed Terminator was convicted on 18 counts, including murder, rape, sexual slavery, and using child soldiers. And Greece's new center-right prime minister has vowed the country will, quote, proudly raise its head again. After New Democracy landslide victories on Sunday, he said he would not fail to, quote, honor the hopes of the Greek people. The win comes 4 years after Alexis Tsipras' left Syriza party swept to power, promising an end to austerity. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I have been sharing with you the United Kingdom House of Parliament Act of the 22nd of June 1863, an act for the government of the Cayman Islands. Very important part of our history. When it became clear that the people of the Cayman Islands were making laws for themselves out of expediency to ensure their survival because of the neglect, the benign neglect that was vested upon them by the United Kingdom because of distance. And while we did our own thing here, the exports and everything else, very little attention was being paid to us by the administering power or even by the governor of Jamaica, who would have been responsible for the Cayman Islands as well. So these laws were made, and as a result, I'm going to read one more time, how they consolidated the power of the governor of Jamaica to govern the Cayman Islands as well. And says, the officer administering the government of Jamaica shall have as far as may be the same powers and authorities in respect of the said islands as if the same, that is the Cayman Islands, had been part of the island of Jamaica. So we were administered as if we were a part of Jamaica. So we were administered the same way that Jamaica was administered. Then it goes on to talk about the powers of the Supreme Court of Jamaica to try causes, they call it those days, causes arising in the said islands. And it's Section 7 goes on to read, the Supreme Court of Jamaica and all officers thereof shall have and exercise in respect of suits, actions, questions, or prosecutions arising in the said islands, which may not be lawfully triable by any authority therein, that is, therein within the Cayman Islands, or which, in conformity with any law or regulation in force therein, may be referred for the decision of the said court, the same jurisdiction and power as if the same islands were part of the islands of Jamaica. So again, in relation to the justice system, the administration of laws, the courts, we were treated the same way as if we were a part of Jamaica. And as a result, then issues relating to the Supreme Court of Jamaica, the Supreme Court of Jamaica was also Supreme Court of the Cayman Islands. And there's another section to entertain appeals from decisions and to make rules for proper hearings. Section 8, it says it shall be lawful for the Supreme Court to entertain appeals from the decisions of the justices and justices of the peace in the said islands within such limits as may be prescribed by any law or regulation in force in the said islands, and by rule of court from time to time to make such special provisions as the said court may think requisite for the proper hearing and determination of such suits, actions, prosecutions, and appeals as aforesaid, provided that no such rule shall take effect until it shall have been signed by the officer administering the government of Jamaica in token of his approval thereof. And of course, that officer administering the government of Jamaica was then the governor of Jamaica as well. So just wanted to share that with you. We'll get to a little bit more in terms, we'll get to you a little bit more in terms, a little bit of gossip, a little bit of entertainment as well. We're going to switch gears and we're going to go, yes, I know how to drive a standard transmission car. We're going to switch gears and we're going to go to the Cayman Times, the 31st of December, 1956. And in the Caymanian Times, in those days, there was a section for Caymanian local news. One part of that Caymanian local news was Mrs. Marsh, who was the wife of the dentist, Dr. Hugh Marsh. Her name was Cynthia Marsh. She had to be flown off the island for an emergency operation to Jamaica, and it was indicated there that she had been operated on. Then we had one where insurance men came to visit the Cayman Islands, like we said. Money was flowing in the Cayman Islands those days, especially the remittances from our seamen. So people saw the opportunity for business here in the Cayman Islands. So we had insurance people coming, from Jamaica as well to sell us insurance. Then there's an article about a good concert that was held at the Triple C School. They even had things about, they even published a weekly sermon in our newspapers at that time. Then there was one about a top flight beauty salon that was going to be coming to the Cayman Islands soon. But here is this one, and I think I mentioned it last week sometime as well. 1,600 guests at the Connolly McFeel wedding. And the article says 1,600 guests were invited to the wedding of Miss Eileen Connolly and T.E. McFeel, which was held at the Georgetown Presbyterian Church on December the 19th. That would be December the 19th, 1956. Says that during the ceremony, and at which Reverends Hicks, Gray, and Ricketts officiated. So not only did they have one preacher, had three preachers. I guess 1,600 people, you need about three preachers, right, for 1,600 people. It says, so Reverend Hicks, Reverend Gray, and Reverend Ricketts officiated. It says Miss Hope Glidden Borden sang a beautiful solo, and a second she sang too, while the newlywed couple were signing the registry. Then it goes on to say that 360 guests, I believe it's 300, it could be 860 as well. I'll say 860, let's say half of the 1,600, were invited to a lavish reception held afterwards in the town hall, and the dance was held at night for guests that totaled. So there was 360 guests at the reception and 580 guests at the dance as well. And it says that the happy couple spent part of their honeymoon at Padian Beach Hotel. I think then before settling in East End at their residence there. I believe that teacher McFeel was might have been teaching in East End at the time, and that is why they would have been residing in East End. I could be wrong, but I wanted to point out in those days, big wedding, 1,600 people invited to the wedding, 360 odd guests at a reception, and then 580 at a dance at the town hall. They had to be dancing inside the town hall as well as on the veranda of the town hall as well to have that many people. But that was some heck of a wedding in those days. But that, we need to take a commercial break ourselves here. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger
and better. Now featuring a 5K walk run
and a 10K run for half marathon trainers.
Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher. The Breeze Fusion 5K 10K walk run, Saturday, November 2nd.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio, so we're talking about any and everything this morning. I'm sharing with you articles from Tradewinds newspaper. I'm sharing with you articles from the Cayman Times that was published in the 1950s, the mid-1950s as well. Some of this I didn't share with you before because we wanted it to be a part of our Celebrate Cayman discussions on constitutional history in the Cayman Islands, and we didn't really want to preempt that by reading some of these articles to you at that point in time. We did have two shows that were very successful, very instructive in terms of a constitution. Again, I want to thank all of those persons who participated, Ms. Georgette, Dr. Steve McPhail, President Roy Borden, the Honorable Speaker, Ms. Mary Lawrence, Mr. Gilbert McLean, Mr. Vaughn Carter, Mr. Jason Webster, Honorable D. Kurt Tibbetts as well. I know that some people regretted the fact that phone calls weren't allowed in, but they also understood the importance of us getting the message that we wanted to get and the information that we wanted to get across to everyone as well. So again, extremely thankful. So one of the articles, the headline article in the Cayman Times, Monday, the 28th of January, 1957, and you heard talk about Major Donnell, and you would have heard talk about Major Donnell and his contribution and his initiative in relation to the Cayman Islands coat of arms. So he came here in 1957, and he took, as the administrator, and he took his oath of office. So the article goes on to say that the swearing-in ceremony of the Honorable Major A.H. Donnell, OBE, as Commissioner of the Cayman Islands last week, Tuesday, at the city's town hall. Now, this is the writer of this, of course, is a gentleman by the name of Hill, who came from Jamaica and started this newspaper, Cayman Times. It was printed in by the Gleaner in Jamaica, and I think every Friday it was flown over to Cayman. So he says that he spoke of Georgetown as the city. So he says in the city's town hall was a colorful affair and brought out a large and representative gathering to witness the brilliant speech. I have a caller, but I'm going to finish one more sentence before we go there. He says, amongst those on the platform with Major Donnell were the retiring commissioner, Mr. A.M. Gerard, Mr. E.S. Panton, that would have been Mr. Ernest Panton, clerk of the courts, Mr. E. O'Marin, clerk of the legislative. Mr. E.S. Panton, Clerk of the Courts, Mr. E.O. Panton, with Mr. Ernest Panton, Clerk of the Legislative Assembly, Major Watler, Inspector of Police, and His Honor, Mr. V.L. Scott, who administered the oath. And it goes on to say that after the formal oath taken, Mr. E.O. Panton read an address on behalf of the assembly and then asked any in the gathering who wished to speak to do so. And you will hear some of those speeches. You will hear what Mr. Ormond Panton had to say. You will hear what Mr. Duncan Marin had to say as well. But before you hear those, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Woosey.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, just fine. Wonderful stuff you're broadcasting here. It's so very important at this time when we find ourselves losing our identity, as Ms. Mary said, and as I have said it that way also. Not culture, but our identity amongst the 130 nationalities. And God bless them. They've been welcomed here, but it's very, very difficult to run a country this size, operated with 130 different nationalities residing. It's an almost impossible task. I won't say any more about that. It's very interesting that you're giving that history of the relationship, because it's so important. It's a lot more things happened, especially in the 1930s, 40s, and that kind of cemented that relationship. As of such, it was mostly maritime at that time. And I remember many things my father and others did there with relation to, even bringing Caymanians over there, taking his fellow Caymanians over for jobs. It was a lot that went over from time to time, because my father used to come to Cayman Brac, come back to Cayman Brac, over to Cayman Brac, for group of fishing. That was a group of capital of the world almost. Anyhow, at 1959 also, before I say this, I just like to say I wish they would give more mention of Mr. Roland Borden, the real Borden's brother.
Okay.
Who was the carpenter on those big famous buildings. It's Mr. Roland who did the carpentry. As far as I know from my father, and he was a good friend of his. He was older than my dad, of course, but
I've heard credit being given to Mr. Rail. Now, was Captain Rail, was he the person who was contracted and then Roland worked with him? Or
yes, and the builder. But it was Mr. Roland, the famous carpentry on the Ends Memorial and the South. And the post office also. But I'm just saying it's great that they're honoring Mr. Rail, and he should be. But sparse mention is made of Mr. Roland Borden. I find that kind of disappointing. And, because it was he who did the carpentry. My father, who was a master carpenter himself, one of the 4 carpenters on the gold field, and his younger brother, Baxter, was carpenter's helper, that he often said to me over and over that in his estimation, the 2 greatest of all the many carpenters here were Roland Borden and Lock the Arch. I just thought I would mention that for the family's sake. It's curious too what you're talking about with the being called officially a part or parish of Jamaica. I saw some document many years ago, a copy of it, where it was officially designated as the westernmost parish of Jamaica. And it ties in with many things. I remember when they brought in the thing about Cayman status and working here and all that. And when I went into Mr. Bostock, where they had some application form you had to fill out, and He said to me, you know, you don't need to do this. He says, you're automatically a Caymanian. He said, and then he quoted that same thing, and he said, every Caymanian born, but before, of course, Jamaica became independent or anything, and especially before the Federation, but it was with Caymanian parents was automatically considered a Caymanian.
Well, caller, I don't think that it had anything to do when Mr. Bostock told you that, and I stand to be corrected, but I think I'm pretty sure about this. It had nothing to do so much with the connection between Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, but the Caymanian Protection Law 1972 that said if you were born in the Cayman Islands or of parents, one of whom was born in the Cayman Islands, that you were called a belonger or you possessed Caymanian status. So it had no connection with Jamaica, but with that particular provision of the Caymanian Protection Law 1972 that stated that if you were born in the Cayman Islands or of parents, one of whom was born in the Cayman Islands, that you possess Caymanian status automatically.
What I'm saying is he mentioned that to me, because
I'm not saying that he didn't mention it to you, but it had no connection with how you acquiring status being in a part of Jamaica.
I know that, but what I'm saying is having been born there with Caymanian parents,
right?
Long before.
And if you were born in Trinidad and with Caymanian parents, it would have been the same thing too.
Yes. It was once, but it was mostly because Jamaica, we were part and parcel of Jamaica as a parish. That's what I'm saying. Maybe this is the connection. That's how it came about. But they also, you know, Mr. Dennis Foster, he was seconded as the chief secretary to Turks and Caicos in 1959. And my brother Steve was being on audit. He worked with an audit company in Jamaica, and I think they were sent to do audits because the ending of the Jamaica getting out of the Federation, they went to audit. Government had asked them to do this audit, independent stuff. And he went there. It's a long time, 60 years ago, but I remember. And he saw Mr. Foster there. And Dennis was born, grew up in Jamaica too, and went to this college here, Monroe, and all that. And we knew him and his father, well known to my father, Captain Foster. He had a Cayman boat company there, building boats like my dad. And he was there. I just wondered if he was seconded by the Jamaican government or by the British government through being Caymanian, or but I whether he was seconded by Cayman. I don't know if Mr. Dennis had come back home full time then to be here. I think he had.
Uh-huh.
But he was, and many people might not know it. He was at 28 years old. He was the chief secretary here for a while, acting chief secretary, and you know. These things are very interesting. It's what you're all doing and what you're saying. It helps us to go back to our identity. What I'd like for us to remember, just as I get off, and is that at the time of the 60s, when you're reading about a beautiful time, even to the 70s, Caymanians were in the majority. By far, generational Caymanians were in the majority, and our population was probably a quarter or less than that of what it is now. So it's a big difference, a stark difference when we're trying to compare it, what's happening here now. And then I just ask people to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a tremendous difference. There's lots more to talk about with it, but thank you so much for doing this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for contributing as well, sir. Thank you very much. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly, half an hour left before the show ends.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you. Radio Cayman 11 a.m. News Headlines is brought to you by Savannah Pharmacy.
Savannah Pharmacy, just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Stay updated with the very latest news from Cayman, the region, and around the world. The 11 o'clock headlines brought to you by
Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-33.
It seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vantman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vamp Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vamp, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, so we have an open line for everyone to call in and contribute, make comments, ask questions. The lines are open. 1-800-534-8255, toll-free number. Then we have 949-8037, 949-6990. Email For the Record at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261. And follow us on YouTube by simply subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. One of our listeners, in relation to this dispute about a right-of-way in West Bay, has written and said that it is no longer a prescriptive right-of-way. Mr. Adams' claim was successful, and now it is a registered right-of-way. In the first instance, why did the police get involved last week? And we say and say it is a civil matter. That alone is a joke. Also, under the penal code, there are several ways the police could and can take criminal action against the offender. Please see the penal code for this. So this writer believes that there is some way that the police could act on the matter as well. When I get a chance, I will read you an editorial from the Tradewinds newspaper of July the 21st, 1966, and the welcoming the new police chief, like you heard me speak about earlier, Mr. Bessant, and this editorial talking about the lack of success that former police chiefs in the Cayman Islands had at that point in time. But before we go there, we're going to the phone lines. First, we have two callers. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Doc?
I'm fine. Steve McFeel here. Firstly, I don't know why the Adams family is trying to involve the police into a civil dispute. Mm-hmm. An easement over one's property that is not public, that the public does not have a right over the property, is a civil matter. Mm-hmm. The remedy is to go to court to get an order, an injunction, or a restraint to prevent the neighbor from allowing him to get to his property. Mm-hmm. It's so simple. The police took to go to all this rigmarole to go to the police chief of police and ask him to remove the police has nothing to do with that. It's not a public right of way. It's not something where the general public has the right. It's an easement between two private properties. If you read the prescription law, if you read the prescription law about pub easement for the beaches, it says if you've been using a beach for picnics, for bathing, for swimming, for fishing, and all those things adjacent there too, for 20 years, you have in the piece of right to use it, provided it is not an agreement between neighbors. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Provided so as long as it's an agreement between two people, it's not a public matter anymore. It's a civil matter that needs the court to make an order either one way or the other. So what Mr. Adams should do, he should go to court, get an injunction against the person, or what we call a restraining order against the person from preventing him from using his easement. And
then if that court order is given, then the police are then obliged to enforce it?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Especially if there's a penal order, too. The police would be able to arrest people who would be preventing him from using from getting to his property if it's a penal order. Mm-hmm. In other words, if there's a penal section to it that says if the person does not obey the court that the order, this is what's going to happen to them. They would subject to be arrested. Secondly, people call in and talk about the history and stuff, and some people should actually research or ask or inquire about things. The last caller that you had there, he was saying that Captain that Mr. Roland Borden was the
carpenter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, he was not the only carpenter. I agree that the contractor for all of these projects were Roland Borden, mm-hmm. and the contractor for some of the shipping, for some of the boat maker, the boat making, the schooner making were the arches. But there were other people working on them, and some of the great carpenters of the day was Lemuel Richard McFeel, mm-hmm. Felix Thompson, and when he talked about Kevin Real and his brother and other people were the good carpenters too. Mm-hmm. Lemuel Richard McFeel and also Felix Thompson, and then you look who did the block laying.
Was Mr. Kitchener-Solomon a part of that as well? Was he?
Yeah, he was a great carpenter mm-hmm. too. And Mr. Emmett. And don't forget Mr. Baxter Hulston from South Sound. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so they were the ones who built the trawlers, worked on the trawlers. Rail Borden had the contract, but they were the ones who actually did the work. And when it comes for the first block makers, look at the great Ben Miles. You know who Uncle Ben they used to call him? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. He was the one who laid the blocks in the town hall and all of those things. The block makers after Rail Borden got the contract to do those buildings. So don't talk about was just Mr. Rail and his brother Rolling. That's not so, and that is how they have interpreted history all the time. Because people didn't come from a certain strata, they just left them out. Mm-hmm.
Doc, if, in all fairness to the caller, I'm not sure that he was saying that Mr. Roland Borden was the only one. He was just highlighting him.
Well, he should have said him and others, because the impression I got that he was the only carpenter.
Understood, Doc. Understood. Thanks very much, Doc. I'm going to give you a call. I have some stuff here on that Mr. Dukan Marin made in his speech, but I don't want to read that. I have to wait until I have you in the studio for you to relay that to our listening and our viewing audience. So I will be giving you a call, Doc.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's take the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Orrett Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay. Well, Mr. Mike Adam.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets that situation sorted out.
Yes.
And when he was a member of the Legislative Assembly, he broke ground to get a juvenile prison education facility built for young people. Because Ms. Ramsey Hale recommended that they get that built so that she would not have to be continuing to send our young people to Northwood Prison. And when they send them to Northwood Prison, these young boys are in a building, I think it's 12 feet by 12 feet. And some of these young boys I know for a fact have had post-traumatic stress disorder because of being in that environment at such a young age. And as we know, Ms. Ramsey Hale also recommended the drug court, which is helping a lot of people.
Okay.
And when it comes to the juvenile education prison facility, this is why I say government needs to start collecting concessions and putting this money towards things such as that juvenile education prison facilities, which is needed right away.
I believe that the government is probably, from a financial standpoint, in a position to do so even without the concessions, collection of concessions or restriction.
Yes. But it's not fair for the government to be giving away our money, knowing that we need things such as the juvenile education prison facility for our young people, knowing that we need trade schools, knowing that the Premier has mentioned that he is concerned about pensions for Caymanian people after they retire because the percentage that they put in and their employers put in will not be enough for them. For example, Mr. Connor, when you retire and you have $100,000 in your retirement plan and the pension people give you $1,100 a month and it's 12 months out of the year, that $100,000 will not last any longer than 7.5 years. So government also needs to think about contributing to people's pension also, and this is a way of doing it by collecting these concessions. Government has given away hundreds of millions of dollars of concessions in just 4 to 5 years. And now that the construction business is at its highest, this is the best time for government to start collecting these concessions. And if these individuals refuse to build, then just let them go about their business, because they continue to promise us work for Caymanians to build them, and we see that's not happening because of the lack of the trade schools. We continue to be promised that Caymanians will be working at these businesses and controlling these businesses. We see that that's not happening. So it's only fair if these people do not agree with us that collecting these concessions will go towards a pension fund, will go towards a trade school fund, and will go towards getting us a juvenile prison facility for our young people. If these people do not agree with contributing these concessions towards these things, then I don't think these people should be welcomed into our country. Thank you very much, Mr. Connor.
Before you go, caller, what is your understanding in relation to the concessions? Because you're referring to collecting the concessions, but what by government giving the concessions means that they're not going to collect the duties that would normally be forthcoming. They may collect a percentage of it, but maybe not the whole percentage. So when you say collecting on these concessions, do you mean to stop giving concessions?
Well, government should at least collect at least 70%.
Okay.
At least 70%. Government should be collecting.
Okay. So if you're going to give about 30% in concessions.
Yes.
Okay, got you. Thank you very much for that, caller. One of our writers, listeners, has written in, and I believe that Dr. Steve Macfield may have answered this, but I want to read it out anyway. It says, "Good morning, Mr. Connor. One question after listening to the conversation about the controversy over the West Bay, in West Bay, the ongoing problem. I am wondering, can you answer me what is the purpose of having a land registry, making rules and what is the purpose of a police force who's saying they cannot enforce the rules of the land registry. So the question is, do we, the people, do what we have to do? Of course, there is more than one way to get rid of a cat. Well, Dr. Steve McPhail explained that his opinion is that the aggrieved person, in this case Mr. Adam, should go to the courts, get an order, and once that order has been obtained, then the police are in a position then to enforce the court's decision. But I want to thank the listener for that question, and I trust that Dr. Steve McPhail has answered it for her. Last commercial break for the morning, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater. Also discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up.
Praises unto God, sing praises. Come on, sing praises unto God, sing praises. Hallelujah. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day.
Praise time on Radio Cayman. Praise time.
Give me Jesus in the morning. I will. So send me, Lord. I will go. Born again. Thank God I'm born again.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have maybe about 12 minutes left before the show is over. Editorial for the 21st of July, 1966. And we have one caller, and I will take that caller, but I want to cover this editorial because first. It says, we welcome, but do not envy the new chief of police. A recent crime and traffic records demonstrate the need for a firm and heavy hand leading the police department. Mr. Besant is young, but comes well recommended as an experienced and able police officer. We hope he will be equal to the challenge and utilize his talents to the elimination of lawlessness on the roads and everywhere else in these islands. Says the accomplishment of the last two chiefs have been disappointing. Chief Ellis was well liked both by the force and the populace, and he succeeded in obtaining better equipment, more staff, and better quarters for the department, but he failed to prevent speeding and accidents or to prevent other crimes. We hope Chief Besant will do better. While on the subject, we are more than a little curious about the government housing scramble. A very few years ago, when a resident magistrate was recruited, the government built a fine new home for him. They then built an expensive 4-bedroom house on South Sound Beach for Chief Ellis, a bachelor. Now the resident magistrate is living in rented quarters. The new chief and his family are on at the beach club. The entomological research unit in the house built for the chief of police, and the house built for the resident magistrate is vacant. Says sincerely hope we sincerely hope that the government is keeping their promise as to the accommodation offered to the recruiting of overseas personnel. There is too much to be done to have employees recruited overseas handicapped by personal resentment or disappointment in the accommodations they have been offered when they were employed. Certainly, we hope Chief Besant will suffer no such hardship and that we will see immediate results in the urgent sphere of speeding and traffic accidents. So, I think those houses that we talked about, that was an area that they call English Town or something like that in those days. I believe it might have been called English Town. Those are the days when the colonial masters were at their best. We had to provide housing for them. They were coming here to do such good for us. We had to provide all of this, but at the same time, they got a salary. We need not revert to those days here in the Cayman Islands. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, O.C. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm good. How
You're having quite a time with those papers.
Yes, enjoying it immensely. And I hope the listening audience is, because it's more for them than for me.
Yeah, well, I'm taking it in, man. But O.C., just shipping the story a little bit this morning. You, in 1975, you think it was 50,000 people connected with the Cayman Water Company?
Can you repeat that again, caller, please? Sorry.
I said you think in 1975 it was 50,000 people connected to subscribing to the Cayman Water Company?
Certainly not.
How many people you think were subscribing at that time?
What year was that again?
1975.
1975. Did we have the water company then? We had the Cayman Water Company was what we had then, right? Was it?
No.
We had Water Authority as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will see. Okay. Let's for instance that it was 50,000 people.
Uh-huh.
Right? And you know the $5 that the Cayman Water Company charges for the $5 rental fee on the meter?
Uh-huh. Okay, which one are you talking about? What, the privately held company or the Water Authority? Because there are two.
The residents, people that pay that is connected to the water company that have a meter.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, caller, is you have two different companies. You have Cayman Water Company and you have the Water Authority.
Well, I would think that both of them charges a $5 rental.
Okay.
Okay, for 44 years.
Uh-huh.
Right? That's how long I've been paying a $5 rental on my water meter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you had 50,000 subscribers in 1975, whether it be condos or wherever part of the island, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what that figure represents?
Mm-hmm. I don't. I haven't figured it out. I'm just...
It's $132 million that they collected in rental.
Okay.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And OC is nowhere on it that anybody can convince me that it costs that much with buying the meters, installing the meters, maintaining the meters over that period. So who really benefits from that money?
The company, that's a part of their profit and their profit margin that they're maximizing.
So why just to ease up a little bill on the residents of the Cayman Islands that they wouldn't say, well, after a period of 10 years, you'd only pay the more meter rental.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, because I really feel like I'm getting ripped off.
It's a good point that you have there, caller, in that regard, and it's not only restricted to water company. I believe at one point in time you paid for the phones that you had too as well before you were able to bring your own phone into your residence, but then you still pay for the lines, as well. They have their ways of getting to you, and whether or not it's correct is another question.
I think they have a fuel factor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a rip-off.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the consumer always ends up paying.
Hello?
I said at the end of the day, the consumer always ends up paying.
Right. But nobody no really look into that. That's what I understand.
Uh-huh.
Why it have to be the people from the country that have to contribute to all of this, and all the time the government seems to be broke. They don't have no money for this. They don't have no money for that.
Mm-hmm.
So where the money really going?
Good question, but bear in mind it isn't something that is restricted to the Cayman Islands. That is a part of business. A part of business.
A part of business?
Uh-huh.
So you can rip me off? Huh? That's part of business?
That's the way that the business is.
That is part of the business.
Yeah, I'm sure, caller. There is a part of your business that you pass on something to the consumer that is buying your product as well.
Everyone has to make a profit.
Oh, now you realize that.
You don't have to continuously rip off the general public.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm getting at.
Uh-huh.
It must be a new way that they could figure it out, because to me that I feel ripped off.
And you're rightly so, caller. Rightly so. I'm going to ask you to leave us there. I want to see if I can read one more. Somebody sent in a figure and said, what was it? $5 times 7 to 5,000. Yeah, that's all they said there. Well, we've reached that time in the morning. I want to thank everyone who contributed. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. Also, I want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Draining Banks at 12:15 for talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.